So Thomas Henson and I are back for another episode of a video that we're doing on the Big Data Beard group. So this one is a little bit different, right? Before we were doing a machine learning class, and we constantly talk before the videos. Like, you see our videos, but we've probably have already spoken for 30 minutes before that. And we just realized the other day that we've actually never met in person, that we've only met over Skype, which I thought was pretty funny. But this...
We do Google Hangouts too.
Oh, or Google Hangouts, right? Of course. So we do those kind of things. And we started realizing we were having topics about different items. And one of the items that we were talking about is the importance of certifications. So we were like, wait, let's not have this conversation now. Why don't we record that? And we're going to get into that topic right after this. So we're here back with another episode to talk specifically about certifications. And when we mean certifications, there can be, I don't know if we made it specific, but industrial certifications, or definitely the certifications that you have to pay for on a yearly basis. I think that was what our criteria was, right, Thomas?
Yeah, I mean, what certification don't you have to pay for, right? Like even our Coursera one, we had to pay for them, right?
Yeah, but I don't have to pay for it every year to keep it up to date. And I have two certifications that I have to pay for that I took, I don't know, 8 years ago, and I just look at the fees. One of them is $85 every year. And
Do you
then
want to go through them?
Yeah.
Or
So
is that a security risk? Is this going to wind up on Banks Ryan if I go through and tell everybody my certifications?
no, it's going to be
Okay,
fine.
cool.
You're allowed to talk about your certifications because you probably put them on your resume. And I guess that's the
They're
point.
on my LinkedIn.
Yeah. Well, yeah, to that point. All right. So, all right.
We'll just keep going.
Yeah. So anyways, I was concerned because I have these security certifications, and I don't know if they're actually worth keeping them up to date and paying. One of them is a CISSP, and the other one is the CISA, and that's the more expensive one. And when I broke it down for this video, I thought it was interesting. Every year, it's $220. $220. And there's a $45 fee. I still don't know what that's for. There's a $40 chapter fee, and that doesn't really get me a whole lot except for a discount on other like events. And then there's $135 dues that I have to pay every year. And I don't actually know if they're worth it or create like any value. And my friend had asked me this the other day because they wanted to get in the security industry, and they were like, well, what do you think? Should I take this test? Should I not take the test? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know if it's really worth it. It's a lot of money to take it. It's a very stressful test. And I don't know if companies care about it anymore. I'm sure maybe some companies, but I think if in certain roles that you could probably get into that company and not even worry about that certification at all. And then you could show your value and then continue in the company. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, so I'll say, so I've gotten certifications, and I go back and forth about this, right? I've gotten different questions around where I fall as far as like what do I think for certification. So I think it's going to come down to two different ways, but so I've got a certified Scrum Master, I've got the Isilon Architect, I've got AWS Solutions Architect, the associate version. Oh, I've got a Access database one from back in like 2007. Like, so if I didn't have to take the final in this college course I was in, if I went and attempted it. So I went and attempted it, and if you attempted, I think you got like 90. And if you pass the certification, one, you got the certification, but then you also got 100 on the final. So I took it, and actually there was only like one or two of us. They had my picture up on the wall. And
wow.
Like that. So, yeah, for the Access database, right? And to your point, I did put it on my resume. So
yeah.
Right, and then I do have the machine learning Coursera course. It's in the mail, right? I've got I think I got another 2 weeks before I get it, but I finished all my criteria for it and everything. So those are the certifications I have. A lot of times during my career, my background is more around software development, software engineering. So certifications weren't always so big for us as much as maybe they were on the IT side for administration and some of the other stuff. But around security, they were pretty big. So I've always kind of gone back and forth and looked, and I just like learning. And so I kind of feel like it comes down to two different things. Like if somebody were to ask me what they were doing, it's first, are you just starting out? And then two, are you trying to change career paths, right? Because a lot of times people are coming to get a certification because they're looking at, where they can go in their career, especially with the hard ones. Like I know people who've gone through the CISSP, and those are pretty intense. but it all comes down to what you're trying to do. And then here's a kind of another take that I see for them, because I don't feel like I said, being a software engineer, they weren't as huge for us, but I don't think that certifications hold as much weight as a lot of people think they do.
Yeah.
And I think, if you're trying to change careers and it's something that's outside your scope, if somebody were to come to me and be like, hey, Thomas, I want to get into big data. I'd like to become a Hadoop administrator, or I'd like to become a Hadoop developer. Like, man, do you think I should really go for the certification here or not? It's going to depend. I'm going to say it's going to depend. I think there's more weight, and I think this is the way that we've been going. The world of IT has been going for quite a few years. Where I think if you started contributing and started getting involved in open source projects, I think that's going to hold more weight than even the certifications. Now, I know there's some places where they check a box for the certifications, and you have to have it. But I feel like more and more our careers are all about being a part of the community, showing what you've done versus having taken a test. And this is coming from somebody who's got certifications, maybe I'll probably get some more certifications because I like the knowledge. But if you're doing it strictly just to get into get a beachhead into a job, I think getting involved in that community is going to do way more.
Yeah, because I definitely think the network is what's most important. Because so outside of certifications that I don't have to pay for, so I remember 2 years ago, I had through Mirantis, I got an OpenStack administrative, certification, and I was really happy about that, and I was excited about it. The funny part was they said that a little backstory. They said that I had failed the certification. But the score that they gave me was so low that I was like, can you tell me where I went wrong? And they went right back and scored it, and they found out that I'd actually passed. So all of this failure that I ended up thinking that I had, I actually passed. So it was pretty exciting. But no one, has ever questioned me on it or asked about it or anything. It's on a resume. It's on my LinkedIn. No one has said anything and said, well, we saw this. We think that this would be a really good opportunity for you. For a job perspective. So anything that I get from LinkedIn about jobs or anything or always come from VMware or those tools. And I worked at VMware, but I'm not certified in anything VMware.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Never. And I took the tests, but I never passed because I always took them at the wrong time of my life. So to our earlier stories about you have to be in the right moment, it was at a conference and you were hungover. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't have any time. I was an SE.
Drinking at conferences? Why would you be hungover?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm never doing those kind of things. I just remember I'm why am I taking this test right now? So, but I never had a VMware certification, but I have blogs on it. What my most popular blog is a VMware blog, and I worked there, and I ended up working there because purely from my network perspective, the networking people that I knew in the industry had got me into that job and said, we have a great opportunity. I was doing security work at VMware as an SC. So I think it's interesting that I don't know if it has value, and I don't know, do I keep paying these $220 every year for a test that I don't necessarily need? Because again, no one has ever asked me about them.
No one never got a job based on your certifications.
Never.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
And now you've said which security one did you have? I'm sorry.
So I have the CISA and the CISSP. So I took the CISSP.
You have the CISSP, and you don't feel like that's interesting.
Yeah, and that's the one. My friend said, well, I want to work for a security company. I think that would be really interesting. Do you think I should take the test? And I was like, it's a lot of money that you have to pay for the test.
Yeah.
The test is it was hard. I was very thankful at the time. I mean, I was working at RSA. The test was given at RSA. And they put us through a whole week of training with a really great trainer. Jason was so great and really helped us take the test because you have to think of something completely differently. So I remember when I passed and I was really, really excited, but I was at RSA at the time. And that was then, but that was, I don't know, over 10 years ago.
Yeah. I had teammates that kind of went for the test, and I mean, I didn't see them for 6 months or something. They were always studying. I was like, "Oh, you're in school?" They're like, "No, I'm trying to get for the certification." I was a federal contractor, so I worked a lot with the government on the federal side, doing a lot of different things. And then also just in my role now, I still talk to a lot of people on the state and local level. So I think that goes back to where we're talking about, where I was saying for some places you have to check the box. I mean, that's from a federal perspective. Depending on the role that you're in, having that CSSP. I know for some of the just having administrative privileges and some of the other things on the federal side, you might have to have at least a security plus. They'll have a floor. It says, must have this to be able to get certain. I was always kind of exempt just because one, like I said, I was a software engineer, and then I was always on some really cool projects, but that's another story. But I don't. It depends on what you're trying to do too, right? I mean, if you're the person that's managing the firewall or doing things from a security perspective, then you might have to have that, right?
Yeah, fair. You're right. I mean, I guess that's a good point. And the roles that I've always had didn't necessarily require that. But to your point, if I were to do security, if I were going to be like the CSO of a company, that would be pretty cool. If I could be the CSO, if I was the CSO of a company, it would be something that would probably be more advantageous to me than, say, somewhere that I'm just doing marketing or something along those lines, or being in sales or something like that. So that makes sense. I think that's a valid point.
I think another big one too. So as a CSSP, I had friends, and at one point in my career, I thought I wanted to become a project manager, maybe and kind of run that thing. The PMP, that was pretty intense too. And then
I've heard that.
To it. But like I said, there are. I mean, this is outside of the government. I mean, there are places to run projects and stuff. You have to have that PMP certification. It's it's written in blood because it's pretty hard, just like the CSSP. And so keeping up with that. But I don't know. For me, I didn't want to be a traditional project manager, right? I wanted to be the cool kids for the agile development, which is why I did the Scrum Master.
I was going to say,
plus the Scrum Master was pretty easy. I mean, you kind of went you went to a class, and they kind of taught you the class, and the test you took afterward was pretty simple. So. But
then to that point. Then is that something that you're gonna keep up with, right? Is that do you have to pay dues like every couple of years for it?
It's funny you said that. Not that we talked about this beforehand, but I did want, honestly. So everybody that's listening, like, put it in the comment section here below, or put it out on Twitter for us. But I do want to know. So my Scrum Master. So here it is. I'll read the email. Thomas, the time is running out on your Scrum Alliance Certified Scrum Master certification. So I need to renew it online. And to do that, I only have to pay $100 to extend it for 2 years. Thomas I don't do project management. I'm not even coding, every day. Most of the coding that I'm doing is most for training, or, to be able to learn and be able to help out. I'm so far removed from, day-to-day operations, whether it be from a software development or even like Hadoop administration. But I kind of like that. It's pretty cool just to tell people that I'm still a certified Scrum Master, right? But it shows, from a sales perspective, from just when I'm talking at conferences and stuff, like, I do understand, what we're doing when we talk about agile development, some of the other things, and that it comes up a lot.
Right.
But I mean, should I pay $100 to keep it? I don't know.
Yeah. And that's the other thing with the CISSP, you still have to put in your CPEs, right? So you have to do like a certain amount of CPEs every year that basically, they'll let you kind of do them like in the years past, but you have to do like 20 CPEs every year. And you can take the classes and you can do things like that. Like, I took a GDPR video, like a session the other day, right? And they're like, well, you can get like 1 CPE for you. Just give us your number and we'll automatically put it in your system. So those are good things, and those are like interesting. But I do know people that are no longer, that I think may even be high profile security officials at companies, and they've just let their CISSP go because they just thought it was a waste of money to have to continue to pay for it when they weren't really getting anything out of it, when basically their credibility was already worth it. So to that point, if you already have credibility, if you can be like a keynote at like the RSA conference, or you can do that, maybe you don't need the CISSP, right? Maybe you don't need to keep paying for it because you've already made a name for yourself to that point. But if you're kind of want to get into that realm and want to be in a different type of market within that industry, then maybe it's important for you.
So I'd like to do the keynote at the DataWorks Summit. Do I need to go get my certification? Because I haven't done that yet. That's on my bucket list. So
yeah,
I probably still have to work at it, right? I still have to raise myself in the community.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. You keep going at it. I think you'll be fine. I wouldn't worry about it.
Real quick. So you were talking about keeping up. So have you kept up with those CE? You're saying GDPR. Did our machine learning course count towards any of your continuing credits?
No, I don't. that I didn't put any of that in for the machine learning. That's a good point, though. I probably could, but I didn't really feel like it had like enough. He didn't even talk enough about from a security realm, and I'd rather really be able to address it and talk about it. I do enough in my day-to-day job, I think, for the most part, just talking about it, researching it, doing those things, doing research, and keeping up to date myself, just from a security perspective. That's helped along those lines, but I didn't use that course for it. But that's interesting. If you can do that, that's even nicer. But I like it.
I know there's a lot of crossover with big data and cybersecurity, so that's why I thought it was worth the ask for you.
No, and
trying to help you out here, Banks.
No, it's totally like valid, and I totally like agree. And that's one of my biggest kind of like issues, as we were just one of our earlier topics that we were talking about. It's a big thing about privacy and security and data analytics, and that's very, very near and dear to my heart. And that's I think. Even to that point, though, again, like when you're coming from completely different angles, I don't know if these certifications are necessary. That's all. I mean, and I've even written a security book, and nobody seems to care about stuff like that, right? So, I don't know. It's just very, very interesting of like what people care about and what they don't. And I think without a doubt, the number one thing that's most important is your network, and whether or not people can vouch for you and stand for you and say that you are a good person. Because there's been topics that I'm like, listen, I don't know that topic, but I can promise you that I will learn that topic. I will know it in and out, and I will become an expert on it along those lines. And people can vouch for you from that aspect, with or without a certificate.
Yeah, I think what you were saying about book and certifications, I think it goes back to, so people come to me and they'll ask about certification, right? Oh, hey, what am I trying? What should I do? What certification should I get? A certification, just like writing a blog post, writing a book. It's no guarantee if you're trying to further your career. But I think if you look at it from a collective perspective and building that network out, and sometimes part of that building that network out is talking about the things that you're doing. Like, hey, we're making videos and talking about machine learning and some of the other things that we do. It's all, it's all collective what you look at it. So there's not going to be one fix to it, right? I'm not going to be able to come in and say, hey, I've got the certification. Now I'm ready to be a Hadoop administrator. People aren't going to do that. But if you're, active in the community, and by active in the community, I'm not saying that you have to be a top contributor, to HDFS or Embari or anything like that. I'm saying just even answering questions, or even signing up for the distribution list, right? That kind of goes a long way. It gives you an opportunity to build your network. Go to the meetups. I mean, that's what the meetup app's for. Just take everything and go. And then if you feel like you want to, bolster it by doing a certification, and maybe that's your strength, that's okay. But don't feel like, because you can't get a certification, or because you're not good at testing, or you just don't know enough for the way the certification runs. I mean, don't feel like, that's going to prevent you from getting in the industry. Like Banks was saying, I mean, there's a lot of people that she knows that are in really high up positions that don't even, that don't have a CISSP, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's fair. It's all good. I love it.
So I think that's a wrap for today. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's good.
I think everybody should subscribe. So go down, subscribe
Please.
right now. Also, should we keep our certifications? Should I keep my Scrum Master one?
I think so.
You think so? $100?
I do. I'm paying over $300. Yeah. And I mean, the good thing with the CIS, yeah.
I've got 22 days to decide.
I took it backwards. The CISSP was only $85
Really?
a year. Those have to do the CPEs. The CISA was $220. If I wrote that correctly, I have like my chicken scratch.
So are you going to redo both?
I do every year. I do. It's been very, very frustrating, and I don't like it. And now that I look, and that's what I'm saying, I signed up. There was a GDPR class that was at like a hotel. It was during the day, and I was like, well, that would be good. Like, I think I can really, I know that I can include this discussion as part of data analytics. It's really important to talk about it. And then I thought it was going to be for free, and that was still $185. And I kept thinking, where is that money going to? Because that was sponsored by, a consulting firm here. So I don't all of that stuff drives me a little bonkers.
That's great for me, because I'd like to get into public speaking and stuff. So it's good to know that, there are events out there that I can make money off of. Mm-hmm. For credits.
A lot of money.
Credits. I just have to figure out how to become certified to give credits.
Yes. Yes, you do. I think that would be genius, because it's a lot of money. Again, I have a fee and a dues, and then I have to pay to the local charter and Still $185 to go to an all-day thing. That's a lot of money.
All right. So Erin and I are thinking probably gonna do this, or probably gonna renew our certifications. Apparently mine doesn't cost as much, so it should be just a simple thing for me. But we still want to hear from you, so please put it in the comment section below, and make sure you subscribe so you can check out our next episode.
Yes.